And good Monday or Monday evening. That's Monday evening, not morning. Monday evening, Middle Georgia. Of course, I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Stinnett, giving you an update on what's going to be the talk of the weather world the next few days. Dahlia, it will be making landfall on the Gulf Coast and will be impacting portions of Middle Georgia. So that's why we're going to go with a weather warn day as we head towards Wednesday. Middle Georgia impacts not as great as what they're going to be off towards the south. So that is certainly some great news, but still close enough for comfort for a lot of us in Middle Georgia that we're going to have to watch things very carefully. Now, if you have any questions, please chime in, let us know. I'll do my best to try to answer those over the next few minutes or so as we just do a general update on what's going to be, again, the main weather story for much of the southeast the next few days as we're dealing with what could be a significant hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, again, that's why we're going weather warn day for Wednesday, August 30th. The impacts are really going to be felt closer to the coast, of course, and then across North Florida. So that's what we're going to be dealing with as we head through the next couple of days. So it's going to be one of those type days. Okay, I'm getting pulled up on social media. So here we go. Weather warn day, Wednesday, August 30th. Dahlia is going to be in the Gulf of Mexico. Anytime a system gets in the Gulf of Mexico, it's going to hit land. It's surrounded by land. Middle Georgia impacts, expect cloudy and breezy conditions. Heavy rainfall is possible at times as we head through the day on Wednesday. Rainfall amounts will vary greatly. I'll show you a great graphic in just a minute, just to showing you how some locations may not see any rain from this storm. Some locations could get a lot more. So that's what we're dealing with as we head into the evening. Latest update, 8 p.m. update. So this just came out from the National Hurricane Center. Dahlia still a tropical storm, winds of 70 miles per hour, max gust up to 85. So there are hurricane gust winds, but sustained winds have to reach 74 miles per hour before they will classify it a hurricane. I bet by 11 o'clock tonight, we'll probably have a hurricane because I will note the pressure was at 987 last report. It's dropped to 983. When the pressure starts dropping, that shows you that the storm is intensifying somewhat. And it's really starting to get its act together, looking better and better organized on the satellite. And again, this is what we're going to be watching through the overnight hours, through the day tomorrow. Once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf waters are over 85 degrees. There's going to be plenty of warm water for this system to feed off of, but also as we head through the next couple of days, a lot of wind shear will be favorable for this system to intensify. And by Wednesday at 2 a.m., the National Hurricane Center has this at a Category 3 hurricane. That's a major hurricane. 3, 4, or 5 are major hurricanes, and then it is expected to make landfall somewhere near the Big Bend of Florida as a Category 3 storm, and then approaching, say, Interstate 10 and I-75 Lake City as a Category 1 hurricane as we head through the day on Wednesday. And then, yes, it gets into southeast Georgia, impacting areas of Brunswick, over towards Savannah, and then up towards Charleston. Macon and Middle Georgia. Good news is we're west of the center of circulation. Now, the cone, anywhere within this cone is where that center of circulation is. Don't focus on the middle line, but just know that the cone, we call it the cone of uncertainty because little wobbles within the track can cause the system to move greater distances down the line. But Wednesday at 2 p.m., that's where it's going to be crossing into South Georgia. Likely it's still a Category 1 hurricane, and then as it's overland, it will continue to weaken. This is just the latest model output, the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. Will this change? Absolutely. It may shift off towards the east some. It may shift back towards the west some. But we're pretty confident that this is going to be a South Georgia and Southeast Georgia problem as well as a northern Florida. Hurricane forecasts as far as the track have become exceptional the past few years. The intensity forecast still needs a little work, but that's what we're dealing with as we roll through the next several days. And again, why we're so confident in this is we got two things working for us in Middle Georgia. Again, we got the Bermuda High. It's always out there during the summer. Here's actually Hurricane Franklin. It's a Category 4 hurricane, but thankfully will not be impacting the U.S. The clockwise flow around the Bermuda High, and we have this approaching trough from the north and west. This trough is what's going to really help us in Middle Georgia, because this trough is going to dip down and it's going to cause Idalia, however you want to say it, to begin to move off towards the north and east. And again, as that trough dips off to the south, these storms want to look for the road, the easiest road, the path of least resistance. And that's what we're going to be seeing between the Bermuda High off towards the east and this developing trough across the Ohio Valley that will eventually cause the system to turn and move off towards the east coast and not really impact, say, North Georgia, Alabama, much of the southeast. This is going to be an extreme southeast coast system. So that's why we're pretty confident in this overall track of this system over the next few days. Now, what we're forecasting is perhaps a Category 3 or greater hurricane. That would be a major hurricane. That's why a lot of people are concerned about this, because a Category 3, that causes significant damage, also causes a lot of water to rise, those storm surge. And with hurricanes, it's the water that's the number one killer. It's not so much the wind, it's the water rise, especially at the coast and then inland flooding. As of right now, greatest impacts are going to be across North Florida, really essentially east of Tallahassee over to Jacksonville, down towards Gainesville, and then south and southeast Georgia. Again, Savannah, Brunswick, Alma, down to Valdosta. That's where they're going to be really feeling the impacts of this storm. For us in Middle Georgia, we're going to be talking about breezy and wet conditions on Wednesday. For now, the track of the system, we're on the west side, the left side of that center of circulation, and that's the better side to be on with any of these storms, because that takes out the tornado threat as well. So we're not expecting a tornado threat for Middle Georgia, and that is always some great news as well. So as we continue to watch this system over the next few days, that's what we're going to be dealing with. Look for little adjustments in the track over the next few days. But again, the intensity is what we're really going to have to watch over the next 24 to 48 hours. So again, that's just what we're dealing with. Now, we're fast forwarding to 8 a.m. Wednesday morning. The day's going. The system has moved onshore north of Tampa, but south of Tallahassee. Again, it's the Big Bend where what we're talking about of Florida, and then it's going to be moving off towards the north and east, likely impacting areas of Gainesville, up towards Lake City, and then over towards Jacksonville. And again, right of that area of circulation, this is where the greatest tornado threat will be. Once the storms get on the other side of the storm or the system, they can't spin, so you don't get a tornado threat east of that center or west of that center of circulation. So that's what we're going to be dealing with as this system tracks its way through extreme northeast Georgia or northeast Florida, crossing the Okefenokee Swamp, and then it'll be working its way up towards Brunswick, Savannah, Interstate 16, Interstate 95, and then by Wednesday evening, it's impacting areas of South Carolina, so this storm will be in and out of here. And I'll go back and show you that one more time just to show you how, depending on this track, if it keeps shifting off towards the south and east, we're going to have less of an effect here in Middle Georgia. But again, we'll just animate this slowly and just show you landfall north of Tampa, down in the Big Bend area, and then it's going to be working its way along Interstate 75, then working up towards Interstate 10, and then over towards Interstate 95. Here's Albany, Valdosta, Alma. But look at us in Middle Georgia. Drier air wraps around the back of these systems, and that's why we're not expecting much in the way of rainfall. But again, subtle shifts in the track could cause higher rain amounts as you get closer to Middle Georgia, and then it lifts off towards the north and east. So that's what we're dealing with, and Thursday, it's out of here. Now, rainfall totals. Now, this will update as we hit throughout the next couple of days as well, but really, you can tell along the coast, that's where that heaviest rainfall is going to be, and on average 3 to 6 inches. Some locations could easily get closer to a foot, just how tropical systems work. You start working inland, you get up into, say, maybe portions of Telford County, Treutlen County, as well as Wheeler and Montgomery counties, heavier rain amounts are certainly possible, maybe 2 to 4 inches. Get over towards Albany, lighter amounts. Middle Georgia, as of right now, 1/2 inch to about 1 inch of rainfall. That's certainly possible, but again, depends on the track of the system. So as we zoom in, Middle Georgia, we should avoid a lot of issues with this system. Still going to be wet, still going to be windy, but again, there's no tornado threat, and the flooding threat is really going to be, I would say, from Dublin off towards the south and east, down across southeast Georgia. That's always certainly some great news. Now let's fast forward to Wednesday. Here's Wednesday morning. Throughout the day, Wednesday is just going to be a very breezy day. We're going to be dealing with rain at times because we are going to have that tropical system. And these are sustained winds and wind gusts as we head throughout the day. And again, middle of the afternoon, gusty winds across much of middle Georgia. For tropical storm force winds, it's got to be 39 miles per hour. You get some 30-mile-per-hour gusts down towards Mount Vernon, so Wheeler, well, it's Montgomery County. 25 up around Macon, maybe around 20, 25 miles per hour around Irvington. And then as we head into the evening, you can see that center of circulation. The highest winds will always be to the east of that center of circulation. And again, we get these very gusty winds across our eastern counties, from Washington County down into Lawrence County, down into Dodge County. So it will be quite breezy down in this part of our viewing area. So make plans that you'll likely have some power outage issues, especially the farther south and east you work into the state. And even middle Georgia, we're still going to be dealing with gusty winds. But notice as we head into Thursday, still going to be breezy at times, but not what we're going to be dealing with across southeast Georgia. So again, it all depends on the track of the system. Now, we always say there's that threat of tornadoes with any landfalling system, but you have to be to the right of that center of circulation. North Florida, southeast Georgia tomorrow could certainly start seeing some of these rotating storms. And then as we head into Wednesday, right along the immediate coast, that's where that greatest threat for tornadoes will be. And it could bump westward a little bit. Again, it all depends on the track of the system. But again, the worst impacts from this system are going to be from Valdosta to Alma, over towards, say, just to the south of Augusta. You get into Dublin, it's going to be south and east of you. So that's certainly some good news, and along the immediate coast. That's what we're going to be dealing with this system as we head through the next couple of days. Again, I'll just show you forecast, the National Hurricane Center track again. Winds 70 miles per hour. Will rapidly intensify as it moves into the Gulf tomorrow. By this time tomorrow evening, we'll likely be approaching that Category 3 status with winds of at least 115 miles per hour. And then as we head into early Wednesday morning, likely, I would say 7, 8 o'clock Wednesday morning, it's going to be making landfall in the Big Bend of Florida. And then throughout the day, that's when we're going to be feeling the wind and the rain from this system, and especially off towards our south and east. I'll show you the animation one more time of what we could see hour by hour as the system. Again, this is 5 a.m. Wednesday morning, a little farther east on this particular model run. If it's a little farther north, it'll make landfall a little later in the morning, maybe 8 or 9 o'clock. But again, you just watch the system as it works its way from north of Tampa across Interstate 75. Going to be moving very close to Gainesville, University of Florida. Lake City is where Interstate 75 and, of course, I-10 intersect in North Florida. And then 10 runs over to Jacksonville. You get 95 coming out of Georgia, and then that runs down towards the Miami area. But again, center of circulation, model output, keeping it along the Interstate 95 corridor. We're still getting breezy conditions. We'll still get occasional rain and maybe some rumbles of thunder, but no threat for tornadoes across middle Georgia on this current track. And then the heaviest of the threat for damaging winds will remain along and east of that center of circulation. So that is what we're dealing with right now. I'll check on social media. We'll have another update tomorrow, of course, as the system gets closer. But again, just going to go weather-worn day just to keep people informed and up to date. That means you can always download our Skywatch weather app by scanning the QR code right there. Again, this is going to be for Idalia's landfall on the Gulf Coast as we head through the day on Wednesday. For middle Georgia, cloudy, breezy conditions. We could be dealing with heavy rain at times as those rainfall totals between 1/2 inch and 3 inches. But again, you can just scan that QR code at any time. That gets you our Skywatch weather app. What's great about it is it has those great push notifications. Your exact location, it will send you if by chance there is a watch or warning issued for your area. And it's not just good for tropical time, especially as active as our summer severe weather season has been. We've been using it a lot. So again, just want to reiterate, weather warn day Wednesday is we're going to be tracking Idalia, which will likely be a major hurricane making landfall along the North Florida coast. So just looking at everybody, any comments? Brandon Norris, yes, praying for all those in the path. That's important. And again, this will be a major system for the state of Florida. Again, likely a Category 3 storm. That causes a lot of tree and water issues. They'll have a lot of tornadoes down in the peninsula, Orlando down towards Miami, Sarasota. That area is going to get hammered with the threat for severe weather the next couple of days. But again, that main core is going to be really to the south and east of middle Georgia. But still, it will be impacting Georgia. A lot of people, a lot of perhaps evacuees will be approaching middle Georgia, so do keep that in mind. A lot of people coming up 75 as well as 95 into 16, especially a lot of people along the Georgia coast may be heading inland along 16, so do keep that in mind. We will likely have a lot of evacuees here in middle Georgia. I know I don't have to say this, but that Southern hospitality, make middle Georgia proud with the evacuees, especially if you see any of them coming in. But again, that's what we're going to be dealing with. Just be watching this system. Again, we'll have updates throughout the day tomorrow as well, especially once the system gets into the Gulf. It will rapidly intensify. Will become a hurricane, I would expect, by 11 p.m. at our next update. If not, it will be overnight. I expect to maybe wake up tomorrow morning with a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. And again, the path, it's not going to change a whole lot. It may shift a little east. It may shift a little west. We'll keep an eye on it, of course. A little shift in the path can mean big changes for us in middle Georgia. So don't let your guard down just yet, but just be prepared that a major storm system will be impacting Florida and Georgia and the Carolinas as we head through the next few days. Again, any questions, you can email us, hit us up on social media. Let us know if you have any questions or concerns. But especially tomorrow, we'll be doing more and more of these as the system gets closer. We have a better understanding of the exact track and the overall threat this system will pose to portions of middle Georgia. But again, I'm telling you, the main areas of concern are going to be closer to 95 and down closer to Interstate 10. But again, we're going to be dealing with the evacuees. We're going to be feeling the impacts of this system because of its proximity to us in middle Georgia. But again, that's what we're going to be dealing with the next few days across much of the U.S. It's going to be the main news story. You're going to see it in the news cycle and the weather story, as again, it'll be a landfalling system likely impacting us in middle Georgia, perhaps, as well as South Georgia, Southeast Georgia, and of course, northern Florida, with all the wind and rain that we get with the system. We deal with these every year. We know what to do. Just make sure you're keeping up with the latest information, the latest forecast trends, and we'll keep you informed and up to date. Of course, we'll have an updated forecast tonight on Wgxa at 11. You can be sure to tune in. If not, you have any questions, be sure to hit us up on social media, Facebook or Twitter. You can also email us. Let us know if you have any questions or concerns about hurricane or what will soon to be Hurricane Idalia. If there are no questions, I will let you go. But again, just updating you on what could be a very active next 24 to 48 hours. Again, I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Stinnett.